Pippa, can we invite you to say some words about the big grant scheme, or not so big, but big in terms of a new initiative?
You can indeed. Thanks very much, Karen, and thanks, Morris, as well, and Coastwatch for the invitation to come here. It's really quite different. I mean, I'm live in County Offaly, so probably couldn't be any further away from the coast if I tried. But I thought your presentation, Karen, was fascinating. And I really hope there's scope in this initiative for coastal farmers to engage with the likes of Coastwatch Ireland and other NGOs who are interested in putting together plans to solve biodiversity issues along the coasts. I suppose I am excited about the scheme. It's not a massive scheme, it's 1.25 million, but it was one I sort of drove from the start, and the department were a little bit scratching their heads saying, well, what really do you want from this? And I was saying, well, we hear a lot about, there's a lot of information out there, if you like, from an environmental side. We have these huge like EIP type projects. I mean, look, the Dungannon Blue Flag EIP is one of those, but there's a lot of other ones. I mean, huge ones like the Hen Harrier scheme. It's millions and millions and millions of euros worth over a number of years. And I just thought that it might be a nicer idea to trial something like that on a slightly smaller scale. A, to see, can it be done? B, to learn from the experience. And C, to try and bridge that gap as much as we can between, if you like, farmers and the agricultural sector and environmentalism. And I suppose since I took up my role, because I'm a farmer myself, look, I'm a beef and sheep farmer, I'm an organic farmer, but I'm obviously, you know, I'm a Green Party member, and I'm very much an environmental advocate, and I see myself as trying to bridge that gap in my role, however long I'll be in it. So I thought that was one of the reasons I wanted to try and see how this would work. So really it's about that engagement between farmers, with NGOs, maybe with local authorities, maybe with other community groups, but try to come together with a plan to do something to try and solve a biodiversity issue in their area. So it's not tiny funding, it's small in itself, but I mean, we're still looking for projects between 50,000 and 200,000, really, to be that money to be sort of spent inside a year. So it's a lot in that sense. So and in a short time frame to try and get people to come together to do that. I just really want to see it. You know, I want to see lots of applications in. I want to see it enthusiastically embraced, because ultimately, if it is, then it gives me the opportunity to go back and say, look, we need way more next year, because look at the interest there. So that's important to say, I suppose. So I think just actually, I mean, I was looking up a few things before I come on, and actually Ramsar Ireland had a really nice video there, their second video, on Tralee Bay, and it shows, you know, the real rich diversity that's there, almost the sort of multifunctional use of those sort of wetlands, you know, not only for biodiversity but also for people to enjoy. And I thought that was quite, you know, it's quite an inspiring video. And then I also saw on Twitter was shared that somebody shared a picture of Brent geese like grazing like inland on a village green or something like that, you know, because their own seagrass or eelgrass or whatever they enjoy has been, you know, damaged or declined. They can't go to where they should be going. And I could see on your own map there are areas that are still intact and in good order for them, and areas that aren't so good. So I mean, even something like that, if there was a project idea working, you know, with the communities in the area, with the farmers in the area and so forth. Just some interesting, I suppose, figures. There's approximate figures just for the sake of not having to get into much detail, but you know, the 7 million hectares of land in Ireland as total sort of land area of Ireland, off that like 5 million are farmed. So about 75% of the land of Ireland is farmed. And I suppose for me that really strikes a huge note, because if we want to address biodiversity decline and indeed climate action, but particularly biodiversity decline, we are going to need our farmers to help us do that. And we can do lots in our urban areas and lots on our local authority land and lots in, you know, public spaces, but ultimately to actually drive biodiversity in the right direction, we need to engage with our farmers. And in a way, this initiative is one way of trying to do that. So I don't know, actually, I don't have the figures. It'd be interesting, maybe Coastwatch have, in terms of the area of, well, maybe the numbers of farms that would be considered coastal farms, or the area, how that area that would be. It would be quite interesting to see that. I visited a catchment study in the southeast there a few months ago, sort of in between some of the COVID lockdowns. It's a Teagasc run thing. The EIP are involved as well, but it was mainly around sort of nitrates and that, but it was really fascinating. And it wasn't near the coast per se. Obviously it ends up in the coast, but I was slightly more inland, and we were looking at some of the streams and rivers. And I did the kick test in the bottom of the stream, which I'd never done before, and looked at the, you know, the good indicators and the bad indicators in the water. And I just think it's, and I just thought, Karen, you're you know, showing the dog whelk eggs, and it's so tangible. I think these things are so tangible for people in terms of biodiversity, whereas climate action is just, I don't know, it's sort of invisible, I think, to a lot of people, even though we see the damage of it. But biodiversity is there, it's in your face. You can see, you might go through 5 years where you haven't seen something, and then you see something that was never there before. And if that has happened because of an intervention by the local community or the farmers in the area, I think there's just something really, really just excellent about that, and really powerful about that. So I think that's something to try and harness. Now, look, I appreciate that this fund at the moment is a very, you know, it's very just tight, and we want to actually get the money spent. We mightn't actually see the direct effects for many years to come, but I think partly the purpose of this fund is to see how maybe easily it is to engage communities, engage farmers at a community level, and so forth. So, I mean, really, we need enthusiastic people like you to get out there and come up with a plan. Maybe you know farmers who are already very interested in getting involved, to you know, to harness that enthusiasm there, because there are a lot of farmers who are interested. And look, I'll admit there's lots of farmers who aren't, and maybe couldn't give a toss about this. But maybe if they see more farmers getting interested in it, then, you know, there might be a knock-on effect there, that they themselves might say, that's interesting, what my neighboring farmers at, tell me more about it. And a lot of the time it is just about knowledge transfer and understanding, and understanding the benefits of maybe doing something in a different way. So, I mean, I'm just the politician really here. I have the interest in it. I want to drive it, but it really needs the expertise in this room here, and across the country to really engage and to see what can come out of it. But fingers crossed we'll get a good input, good engagement. And look, this could be the, you know, one of these projects, whatever number of projects we get in, you know, could be the drive behind an even bigger project in years to come. And I suppose that's really what this is about, is really trying to plant some seeds, see what works, see what doesn't work. I mean, there's always something to be learned from when a project doesn't work. It's not a bad thing. It means we look at it differently next time. So really, I would just encourage you to you know, try and come together. I know it's a relatively short time frame, but it isn't massive money, so hopefully it could be done. I think the application form is fairly straightforward. I suppose the key is that the application must come from an existing group. So I noticed one of the questions that was posed was, you know, could one farmer do it? Maybe it might be with one farmer, but one farmer might necessarily be the applicant. It will have to come from an organised group. And I think that's where the likes of Coastwatch Ireland, you know, I would see them being that group, and then they would draw in together the landowners or the farmers they wish to work with.